Ever hear of Candyman? His right hand is sawn off, and he has a hook jammed in the bloody stump. And if you look in the mirror and say his name 5 times, he'll appear behind you, breathing down your neck. You want to try? Candyman. Candyman. Candyman.
Candyman. No one ever got past 4, and we are not starting now.
Welcome to The Horrible Idea, a podcast about scary movies. I'm Jack, and every episode, my co-host Stephanie and I discuss a movie. She's kind of a scaredy cat. I'm kind of unflappable. So what are we talking about today, Stephanie? If anyone can guess.
This episode, we're talking about the 1992 Candyman, and looking forward to the new spiritual sequel reboot coming this year, directed by Nia DaCosta and written by Jordan Peele, due out in August.
Oh man, you said it. You said it again, though. So that's the 5th time.
Well, we're not in front of mirrors. So.
Oh no, I always podcast in front of a mirror. I find.
Well,
I'm my own.
In a lot of
audience.
ways, Jack, I am your mirror.
Oh, art is a mirror. Tell us a little something about this film.
Yeah, this came out in the spooky month of October, on the 16th, 1992. Directed and written by Bernard Rose, based on The Forbidden by Clive Barker.
Yeah, it had a budget of 8 to 9 million, box office of 25.8 million. IMDb gave it a 6.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it a 76, and Rotten Tomatoes audience gave it a 62.
And I actually didn't get a listener score in time, but I looked up Ebert's score. He gave this 3 stars. I like to think that Ebert would be listening to our podcast if he were still with us.
Fervently. He might be on it, actually.
Yeah, I think he'd be a frequent guest host, for sure.
I see both of us wrote down some facts, and almost all of them are the same facts, but you have some. Yeah, we both have some different ones. I think the one that shocked us both was the person who wrote the score.
Yeah, the Philip Glass, who. So there's this. You know the app TikTok, which me and your roommate are obsessed with.
Oh, sure.
So there's a movement going around on TikTok about how Phil Collins did the soundtrack for Tarzan, and just everybody being like, you don't need to go that hard, Phil Collins. This is a movie about a man who thinks he's a monkey. And I kind of felt that way about this score. I was like, Phil Glass, you did not need to go this hard. It's like a slasher. But I do think it really added to the vibe.
Yeah, and there's a lot of these long shots of of Chicago architecture, of highways, and it very much sort of mirrored his minimalist musical musings.
Yeah, and I really loved that opening with the overhead shot going down the highway. That was really cool.
So now you said you got the Gillian Anderson vibe from Virginia Madsen. I got a Sharon Stone. I mean, she looked like she was doing a Sharon Stone impression to me.
I mean, I would agree, except for the fact that this and Basic Instinct came out in the same year. So,
True.
She couldn't have, I don't think, known. They just were both channeling the same energy, I guess. But yes.
Virginia Madsen, Michael Madsen's sister. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, I did,
Who?
which will come in later.
Oh.
Mm.
All right. Well, she is literally smoking in every single scene she is in.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoking in this.
There's more smoking than in M.
Yeah, and it was definitely they were just chiefing up a storm in the restaurant. I was like,
yeah, it was wild.
The good old days.
And the one the fact that really freaked me out is, so last episode we did Silence of the Lambs,
Right.
where Casey Lemons played a sort of not fully formed character who was there in aid of the white female lead. And in this movie, she plays the exact same character.
Right. And I mean, jumping off of that, so I think this movie has both, big fans and critics. And I guess I wanted to note a couple of criticisms which have come from, several actors, filmmakers, black actors and filmmakers. And one person that I read quotes from was Carl Franklin, who is an actor and director. More recently and notably, he directed 4 episodes of Mindhunter Season 2, which was
Nice,
about
big
the
fan.
Atlanta child murders. So he basically was critical of the depictions of black on black crime, the fact that the black women in the film were pretty much kind of non-entities,
Yeah.
and and Candyman's obsession with the central white female character, and just sort of generally reinforcing like the white perception of black on black crime, especially in
Absolutely.
housing projects like Cabrini Green.
It's a really weird movie
Yeah, and
because
it's like I feel like there are good there are some smart choices, and then there are things that just I think naturally are not going to be pitch perfect because this is written and directed by a white man. And
yeah.
an English white man at that. British, I should say.
Well, yeah, and so Clive Barker's story is about. I'm gonna have a little section where I'll talk a little more about it, but generally it is. It takes place in Liverpool, and it's much more about class than race, and so you're taking something that is about white people, translating it by a white person,
Right.
and then making it about a housing project full of people of color. But then at the same time, like I have some friends, some there's no way to say this sentence without sounding like a dick. I have some black friends who really love this movie.
Sure.
And like
Yeah.
it really connected with them when they were teenagers. So
Yeah, and it's just like their black criticism and thought is not a monolith. There's
sure.
thoughts
And I mean,
on both sides.
most of that I've talked to them, and they certainly criticize it as well. But
Sure.
it's just like
Yeah.
also,
And
and it's
we should. It's also we are both white people talking about this movie. I just wanted to bring in some kind of thoughtful criticism from someone
absolutely.
in Hollywood who is well established and also I think directed a the season 2 of Mindhunter, which was a story in the end of black on black crime, but was directed and written in a far more thoughtful way, where the mothers of the missing children were, I think, given character and more speaking time,
Yeah.
and compassion. And so, yeah, I think that, and I guess then we can kind of transition this into preconceptions. And so I knew basically nothing about this except for that Candyman was a black character, and I knew about his sick fur coat.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know until I started watching it that it was set in Chicago. And then once I heard Cabrini Green, like I grew up in the Midwest, and it's not. I think this name kind of was made famous broadly, but I lived 2 hours from Chicago, but we still knew the name Cabrini Green and that it was like a dangerous place. And it was used to like kind of project fear in the 90s. And I think it's both somewhat cheap, but also sort of a smart use of location to underline how kind of things can be weaponized to project fear of, crime, public housing, social blight, etc.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was a teenager in the 90s, so certainly knew of this movie. I saw it. I don't know if I saw it in the theater. I might have been, I don't know. What year was it again?
1992.
Yeah, I think I was a little too young to like see it in the movies, but it definitely came on HBO a lot and was just sort of there. And I think I liked it. We would watch it once in a while, and similarly, so I grew up in New York. That may not have come up in the podcast before, but so I was very aware of housing projects and stuff and sort of the, I don't know if I knew the complexity of them as a kid, but certainly that came later. And it's very interesting, like how in the short story, a lot of things did really parallel because, especially Cabrini Green was this like architectural masterpiece. It was like this, supposed to be this really avant-garde architectural masterpiece that then was like sort of given to the people of Chicago.
What a gift.
And yeah. And I think the story and the movie doesn't really get into that much, but certainly in New York, this happens where sort of these projects were just sort of like built and then it's like, here you go. And then sort of the city just walks away and they become whatever they become and sort of they're just like forgotten. So that's part of the mythology of this movie. So the plot of this film, I think I'm sort of moving, we've had very detailed plot, which I think are very spoilery, and I don't think we're not going to be spoilery, but I'm trying to move to a more general plot rundown. So
is this part of the podcast?
Yes, a little meta.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, for some of these like 80s and 90s movies, like the spoilers are kind of like known, but
it was Jason.
Yeah. I wonder, well, you know what? In the first one, was it?
It's true. It's true.
But yeah.
Spoilers.
I don't know. I guess I figure like with movies like this, you don't listen to the podcast for before you've watched the movie. But I agree. I think we could keep it brief. If folks are listening, they don't need to know every part of the plot. Why don't you kick it off? Or wait, I'm kicking it off. All right. Yes. So Helen is a semiotics graduate student working on her thesis about urban legends. She hears about the legend of Candyman first from some students she is interviewing, and then from some of the janitorial staff who live in the nearby housing project Cabrini Green.
The legend is, if you look in a mirror and say Candyman 5 times, he will appear and kill you with his hook for a hand. Helen, along with her research partner Bernie, go to Cabrini Green to learn more and are pulled into the blurry line between urban legend and real horror. Yeah. I mean, the plot kind of just unfolds, and it is. I like this movie a lot.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. I like the concept of like urban legend come true.
Right.
So we didn't have Candyman growing up, but the thing that you would say in the mirror was Bloody Mary. And you would say it
me
3
too.
times.
Yeah, that was 3 times
Yeah.
Bloody Mary, yeah.
Yeah. And then she would come and kill you. We did it in the bathrooms, I think in like 4th grade.
Sure.
I still live to
But you did it.
tell
You
the
said
tale,
it. You said it
so,
3 times.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
she may still be right around the corner. You never know.
You never know.
So we both like this, and so this is a good movie to sort of exemplify like enjoying a movie and also like very critically looking at the fact that it's not good in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think that there's some things that are really cool and some things that are, I guess this is at least one that I'm not criticizing necessarily like the plot structure or the, somewhat the character development, but
there's one plot hole that I'm like really, that I don't think I picked up before, but sorry. So at one point near the end of the movie, Candyman steals a baby and he puts it in an abandoned apartment. And it's there for a long time because what's her name? What is the lead character's name?
Helen,
right. Helen gets like arrested and put in a mental institution and is drugged for a month. So there's a baby in an abandoned room with Candyman for a month, and he's just like taking care of it.
Yeah. The baby thing was complicated because at first I thought like, oh, the baby's just been dead the whole time, but then the mom showed up at the end with the baby.
Right.
At the funeral.
And they showed the baby like alive, like Candyman was like stuck his finger in its mouth.
Well, sure, but they also showed Candyman above her bed in the mental institution, and he wasn't there then, so I don't know.
That's a good point, Stephanie.
There's a lot of magical, scary realism in here that,
which is like it is very much a slasher film in some ways, which is what makes it interesting, because in most slasher films you don't get into the idea of semiotics.
Right. So yeah, I always love like a good, let's tell the tale of the urban legend. I did not like that Benjamin Franklin-ass Purcell was the one who delivered it. Like when he's like, oh, you don't know the story? I'll tell you. Ugh.
It was really there. So I wrote down in one of the tropes, pretentious dinner party, which there was one in Hellraiser. There's been a few in like a few different horror movies, and that one was like one of the, I don't know what, just like most annoying. Also, I thought you were going to say in the beginning, so it opens on a sort of flashback or like dramatic retelling of the Candyman from one of the students.
Yes.
And in it, the like sort of cool badass boyfriend is played by Sam Raimi's brother.
Wait, really?
Ted Raimi.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Ted Raimi.
That's my number 3 under like questions or comments, which is the bad boy at the beginning was super fug. And I was like, wait.
It was a weird choice.
And it was like the girl was like cheating on her boyfriend with this guy because he was so hot and bad. And I was like, okay, he looks like Steve Buscemi's less attractive brother. Like, well, I don't know. I was not into it.
Listen, I love Tim Raimi. I love Sam Raimi. I'm not gonna stand for this, but I will move on.
I'm out here on that corner saying whatever his name is fug, but that's okay. So, what were some of your like questions or comments about this?
So yeah, I had that one about the baby. So there was a point where I guess mine are kind of like just maybe continuity bloopers, but Helen is in a mental institution, and she's been like on Thorazine for a month, and then she escapes almost immediately. Um, and then she has lipstick on after that.
Right. Well, I think she's just got a lot of makeup on throughout this entire thing. She's just like always done up. She almost has like a classic Hollywood
She does.
look.
She is remarkably attractive in this movie.
Yeah.
Some other ones, I'll try to be, I don't know how to put this, but there comes a point at the end where Helen is like tied down or just like out on a bed.
She's like hypnotized by him.
Yes. And he puts his hook under her dress, or I guess, hospital gown, and, I believe inserts it into her vagina.
Yeah. It seemed like it was just sort of, yeah, it was very suggestive, that's for sure.
It was suggestive hook use. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, movies written by men sometimes have female characters who are unbelievably annoying, and you have to sort of step back and be like, well, this is a construct of a man writing a really shitty character. But the asshole professor's second girlfriend.
Oh my god.
I mean, that whole storyline.
It also seems,
so Helen.
Yeah, it seems like Trevor serially just like dates students, because
Yeah. And it was even sort of implied that Helen was a student of his at some
that's
point.
what I got from that, because she's a graduate student now, but they're married, and I feel like I feel like you're supposed to think like that was her, and now he's got a younger model and one that's very annoying.
She was. Did you have any other questions that came up during your viewing?
Yeah, well, so were there any kind of unique urban legends around your neighborhood, or ones that you kind of believed in as a kid? I know we mentioned Bloody Mary.
There was some like haunted houses that you didn't go around, like a very, To Kill a Mockingbird kind of thing.
Right.
There was like a lake that people said you shouldn't go into. One of the many lakes of Queens.
Are there actually a lot of lakes in Queens?
No, This is just, I guess it's not, it's like a small lake in a park.
So when I was in second grade, I was on my way home from school, and the police were all over my neighborhood, and I lived in a very, very small town, and like kind of far out down like a country road. And the police were all over, and they said that there had been... So I don't actually know how much of this is true, or my remembrance of it, or what. But in my remembrance of it, they said that someone had escaped from the mental facility, like hospital, and was loose somewhere in the neighborhood. And so the bus driver had to drive us each to our houses and watch us go inside. And so the bus driver drove me to my house. I got inside, and my sister, who's 6 years older than me, was already home, and because she got out an hour earlier than me. And I was like, lock all the doors, lock all the windows. I was so scared. I was 7 years old. And I remember, as I recall, it was that this guy stabbed this man in the back with a screwdriver down the dirt road near me, and was caught. Now, I have no idea how much of that is actually true, but it was told among my classmates and fellow, students, fellow 7-year-olds for several years. And I've tried to find the actual original story, because I know the police were there, and I know they made the bus driver drive us all to our houses, but I don't know beyond that how much of this story is true. So I almost feel like I was part of a very niche urban legend. Because I haven't been able to find any of this in newspapers or anything. But anyway, that's my little urban legend from it's my rural legend.
Ooh, rural legend. From Michigan, right? Michigander?
Yeah.
All right. So, who were your favorite characters in this?
Oh, well, I freaking love Jake, the little kid.
He's a cool kid, yeah.
He's got, like, such a hip little outfit. He's got that little bucket hat. I thought he was really cool. And, like, he doesn't get a lot of character development, but I think the young actor does an amazing job.
I think he did a really good job of, there's one point where he's really scared near that bathroom. That's like a very scary scene.
Yeah.
And then when he's in the police precinct and he's like, I want to get out of here.
Yeah. And he was
and I think they give him like,
he was like, what the hell?
Like a hot chocolate.
Me. He was like, what the hell? You told me you weren't a cop and now I'm at a friggin' police station. Like, what the hell?
They also like gave him a hot chocolate and he was enjoying the hell out of it. Because like that's like a thing, like he's a poor kid, like you give him like a nice treat and he's like, oh.
That's so funny. I didn't notice that it was a hot chocolate, but when he's sitting on the bench, he kind of turns away and drinks it. And he seems so preternaturally like wise that I thought he was just like sipping a black coffee, like, yeah, I'm over this. Get me out of here.
I may
what
have
about
just
you?
Made up the hot. It was hot chocolate in my mind, I think. Thinking about it, I liked Helen, but I really liked Candyman, and I wanted more of him. The whole concept of be my victim is really interesting. It's sort of like not something that I think was like really... It's such a weird dynamic for a movie like this where so in the story, which I'll talk about a little in a minute, that's a big part of it. And the movie gets into it too, like he is mostly getting mad and killing people when they don't believe in him. And he's sort of saying like, if I kill you, you'll become part of the legend. So don't you want to die?
Well, it was also like she took the belief away from his congregation.
Right.
That she came into the neighborhood, and kind of made them all not believe in him anymore. And so he needed to take her and kill her to make his, like, tale believable again or whatever.
Right. But he was also just like, I'm not just going to kill you. Like, I want you to want it.
Yeah, and like, so maybe, I don't know if this is a bad time to get into this, but so Helen just killed all those people, right?
I don't know.
She killed the dog and Bernadette and...
I don't... It's very unclear. Like I read it as Candyman.
And the guy at the
them,
mental hospital. Yeah, I don't know. But then like there's a drawing of her on the wall. So I was like, she's also like this killer.
Yeah, but in the mental institution she couldn't have because he was killed by a hook, and literally she was like sitting there with like just a gown on.
I guess. I kind of was like, I think Helen's the villain.
All right, I think this is
I don't know.
either take.
Maybe that's just me.
So horror tropes and cliches, this got into a lot of tropes that we haven't really... There are a lot of movies that use these tropes, but they're not movies we've done yet. So like the urban legends are in Scream and the movie Urban Legends, obviously. Right. And I Know What You Did Last Summer... Things like that. And maybe a little bit in like Friday the 13th and things like that. They're sort of like, oh, that place is haunted.
And a little bit Nightmare on Elm Street, because that's like, they're singing like the song while they're jumping rope.
Yeah, it's
But only
around. It's
those little
like,
girls know the Freddy thing. The rest of the
yeah.
town or the rest of the teens don't.
Um, the guy, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, spoilers, also has a hook for a hand. So that's like sort of, and that's like the classic. I can think of at least two movies where people around a fireplace tell the story of, the bad guy with the hook for a hand.
Captain James Hook, another
Sure.
villain with a hook.
Did not think of that, but would not consider Peter Pan a horror movie, but yeah.
Hey, it could be. The some of my favorite tropes and cliches, razors and candy. That was a
Yeah.
huge thing when I was a kid. That's why your parents had to check all your candy in case somebody put a razor blade in your candy.
Absolutely.
Also,
You
one of
never
my
take an
favorite
apple.
things, second week in a row that we've had a microfiche feature prominently.
Yeah.
my
Casey Lemons and microfiche.
one of my favorite retro techs. But yeah, we had some new ones, I think, because this is one of the, we've had a little stretch here where we haven't done a haunted house movie, so.
I know. Haunted Projects has a different vibe. Like we said, this is Black Best Friend, who is not a fully formed character.
Right.
Which, sadly appears in many horror films.
Oh, like every Marvel movie? Yes.
Yeah.
But also I was going to say, I think we referenced this maybe, I feel like way back, that there aren't many horror movies that feel relatable in the city. And obviously we don't live in housing projects a la Cabrini Green, but they are in apartments, and they reference like the walls being really thin right where the medicine cabinet is, and all of these, murders take place in apartment buildings. And
Right.
I feel like a lot of kind of horror slasher stuff, it's like out in the country, or it's in a creepy old house or the woods. And this was like the first one that I've watched that was in like a urban area in an apartment building. So
Yeah, I thought we were safe, man. But...
I know. You're not.
So why don't we go to Stephanie's 6 Degrees of Cinema?
All right. I need like a jingle here. Maybe I'll come up with a jingle. So this week, I noted when Helen is being charged with the crime and has to take off all of her bloody clothes, the policewoman is played by Rusty Schwimmer, who's a really great character actor. And she was in The Perfect Storm with... she played a bartender in whatever, Gloucester, wherever that was. She was in that movie with William Fichtner, who's also a really great character actor. And William Fichtner was in Heat with the Robert De Niro, who was in
Bobby D.
Yes, who was in Mean Streets with Harvey Keitel. Harvey Keitel was in Reservoir Dogs with Michael Madsen. And Michael Madsen is the brother of Virginia Madsen. So there we go.
Randomly, I just found a really interesting Rusty Schwimmer fact. Schwimmer was raised in Chicago, Illinois, where she attended New Trier High School with her best friend, Virginia Madsen.
That's, probably... I would imagine that that's the connection to get this little role.
Well, she's been in all kinds of stuff. So.
Oh, well, yeah.
She was in Paul T. Anderson's Dirk Diggler story, the short film that inspired Boogie Nights. But enough of the Rusty Schwimmer hour.
I thought you were going to say the we keep saying Rusty. I thought you were going to say the Rusty Schwimmer of it all in my favorite turn of phrase. So, yeah, this week you're not doing your pitch of the week. We've got some book nuggets.
Yeah, just like last week, I did some book nuggets. So I had read this short story a long, long time ago, but I went and found my... like Hellraiser, this is one of the stories in the Books of Blood. This is in Volume 5, and it's called The Forbidden. And rereading it, I was really surprised how the movie stayed really true to a lot of the points of the story. In the story, it takes place in... Helen is the same. She's sort of a semiotics researcher, graduate student, but she's studying specifically graffiti. And she's doing research in a housing project in Liverpool called the Spectre Street Estate. And sort of, when Helen walks into the hole and then she sees that hole, like the face, and the hole is like a mouth.
Yeah, she walks out of it, climbs out of it. Yeah.
Right. Like that hole is taken like right from the book, and where everything says sweets for the sweet, like that is
Right.
a running thing through the book. And the things that the movie did different was the whole mirror urban legend thing. That might be a very American thing, I don't know, but that was not in the book at all.
Right.
And also the bees. I don't really... Where did the
Not
bees
the
come from?
bees. Oh, that's another trope. Bees.
Oh,
They
yeah,
were in
bees.
Winter Man.
Right.
I feel like they just thought it was a cool visual to have his rib cage
Yeah.
full of bees.
Yeah. And then they kept... I wrote down these 3 lines that they kept verbatim, which I loved, which is, what's blood for if not for shedding? And what do the good know except what the bad teach them through their excesses? Which is a very, very Clive Barker line.
Yeah.
And then Better Off Dead, which people say numerous times throughout the movie and the story.
Yeah, that second one sounds like something that Pinhead would say.
Yes. What do the good know?
Oh yeah, that was another thing. I really liked the vocoder or whatever, the effects they did on Tony Todd's voice.
Yeah. But his
really
voice
cool.
is pretty deep anyway, but yeah. What is the horrible idea of it all? What is the horrible idea?
All right, Seinfeld. I guess just sort of, what I took away from it was sort of what I was saying in the beginning, is just that, like, there's urban legends like Candyman, and then there are urban legends like the name Cabrini Green. And
Right.
Cabrini Green is like a name that, it's not just the Midwest. That was like a kind of a national thing. It came to be sort of like the boogeyman of public housing and neglect and crime and urban blight and like fear mongering. And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of kind of complicated messaging in it, I feel like, which is, I guess like this, there's also Helen is talking about how her apartment building was originally intended to be public housing.
Right.
But then it was, I guess, declassified as that, and that's how she lives there, and I'm guessing pays quite a lot more in rent or mortgage. Yeah, I don't know. And yeah, just sort of like, I guess it's complicated because I think there is something being said about this, young white woman coming into the neighborhood and kind of using it for her own aims, like her stupid paper. But it's also in a larger sense a movie that is kind of veering into just portraying black on black crime without giving it a little bit more nuance.
Absolutely.
I don't know. What were some of your thoughts about this?
Well, two things off the bat, just jumping off what you said. Like, if Casey Lemon is the star of this movie is 100 times better already. Like, it would just be a so much more interesting movie.
And she's a great actress.
She is. And I think the new Candyman, which we'll talk about in a sec, is kind of might do some of the things that I'm talking about. But yeah, it's super complicated because I think this movie could be, like, you can see it as not only her kind of just going in and studying, you know, black people and like black culture, but also kind of like just sort of stealing their stories and kind of just like making their trauma into something that is like a hobby, something interesting
like
to talk about.
Mining it for content. Yeah.
Right. Which is like, you know, super relevant. Well, it's always been relevant, but it's coming to the forefront right now. Or like I said earlier, can a movie written and directed by a white man based on a white man's short story, can it say anything about the black experience? Is that even like a goal of this movie? I feel like it kind of is. I feel like the director was sort of trying to say something about the black experience.
Like just the fact that they said it in the Cabrini Green housing project means that they had some ideas they wanted to convey, and I don't think they were completely unsuccessful there. I think that it just could have gone further, and given the very large cast of black actors, more character development, and yeah.
I mean, considering this is 1992, this is a complicated thing to say, but this movie could have been so much worse. Like, I can imagine so many ways. And then, like, as you were saying, like these sort of haunted places. So I just watched the Netflix documentary about the Cecil Hotel, which is
I hated that thing.
Cursed, yeah, but sort of similar, like these sort of like cursed places and
right,
and
similarly,
which is also a place in like a very poor.
Yeah, Cecil Hotel is similarly right next to Skid Row,
it's in Skid Row,
area of, I think it's actually just barely outside. But yes, it's an area of a major metropolitan center that has been allowed to steadily decline and has been neglected, and and so has led to this building and this hotel being where there is a very legitimate crime problem because of societal and government neglect being turned into haunted stories and urban legends, when really it's just a much sadder and more serious situation. But I think
poverty is way scarier than ghosts.
It is. And, I think that this movie is a better piece of filmmaking than that Cecil Hotel documentary. And it's also more fun, for sure. But yes, I can see the comparison there, for sure. So let's take that opportunity to talk about the new Candyman, which I think we're both looking forward to.
Absolutely. I mean, so far, everything that Jordan Peele has done, I've been pretty on board with.
Maybe this is the first horrible movie that we can watch in theaters.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll see.
So Nia DaCosta is directing it. It's written by Jordan Peele. Like you said, it's due out August 27th, 2021. Tony Todd is returning, and Vanessa E. Williams is also returning. They are joined by Teyonah Parris, who I've been loving in WandaVision. She has a lot of other things she's been in, but that's my biggest thing I see her in.
Well,
And
she's also going to be in the upcoming Captain Marvel movie, which is being directed by Nia DaCosta. So,
right.
yeah, they're working together again.
And Yahya Abdul Mateen. I'm telling everyone that I just edited out a spoiler that I said for this movie. So I know from the Watchmen series. He's been a lot of stuff, but I specifically loved him in the Black Mirror episode Striking Vipers. But
he's friggin' smoking hot too.
He is a very attractive gentleman.
He's an incredible actor. Oh, he was also in The Trial of the Chicago 7,
right.
which I have not seen.
He's been in lots of stuff.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to in this?
Well, I'm looking forward to. So the one thing I read is that it's slated, or not slated. It was filmed in Chicago, and that they are supposed to be examining kind of the modern day gentrified Cabrini Green neighborhood. The original housing project was demolished, and I think about 10 years ago, and so they're kind of it sounds like they're going to explore some interesting things around gentrification and also just the fact that Jordan Peele is involved. I feel like it's going to have some good character development. And just more, I think it might take a little bit more thoughtful approach to the social issues involved. And I'm also super excited that Tony Todd is coming back because he was great in this.
He was. I forgot how great and charming and sort of like big, he's just like
he's 6'5",
this huge character.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean his height. I just meant like he is such a big character, with this like booming voice and the sort of
he's got huge like on-screen presence. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The trailer for the new version looked really, really intriguing.
Did you watch the shadow marionette kind of one? There was a teaser that came out. You should watch that. It's really cool.
I did. Yeah, I remember.
Oh, okay.
I did, but it's
it
been
came
sort
out
of
a long time
eclipsed
ago.
by the live trailer.
But so I was worried whether this was going to come out or not. But actually, just as of today, they announced that New York movie theaters are reopening on March 4th at 25% capacity. But I feel like that bodes well for something by August actually opening. A major release opening. So.
Yeah, it's all up in the air. I'm trying not to count on anything. Just want everything to be safe. So, final reactions.
Yeah, you go first.
I like this movie a lot. And, there's some movies, especially when you're now, 30 years away, 29 years away, where the problematic aspects of it are important. They're also sort of there to be wrestled with, as opposed to there to just be I'm not going to watch this movie because it's shitty.
Right.
It's all right, I can see what was going on. And this is a very interesting movie that has that, and it's also just a good movie. It's just a well put together movie. The score is really good, and the cinematography is really good. There, pretty much all the performances were real interesting. I was not scared at any point. So a scare factor, I will give it a 2. Entertainment factor, I will give it an 8.
Nice. That's a high score from Mr. Jack. So, I also like this movie. Agree, the Philip Glass did not need to go that hard in the score, but it really added to the movie.
Imagine if Phil Collins did the score.
Oh, God.
That would be...
Well, it would have had much different tone, but yes. Tony Todd was amazing. This is the only thing I've ever seen him in. You know, I had seen the image of Candyman. I knew he had that amazing fur coat and that vocoder or whatever effect they put on his voice was really cool. It made him sound just like, you know, echoing through like your bones. It wasn't jump scary at all, but it was deeply unsettling. The idea of an urban legend actually being true is super scary, and I don't know if that's scarier than what we were discussing with the Cecil Hotel, just like the realities of societal neglect and, you know, the boogeyman-ing of, you know, public housing and black on black crime and all of that. But I think it raises a lot of interesting questions and is also a really effective scary movie. I thought the makeup effects of the bees in his rib cage were super cool. I thought it could have looked way like goofier, but it didn't to me. And yeah, loved all the performances. Love my little man Jake. I'd give this a scare factor of 5 and entertainment factor 7.
All right. So join us next week where we will be jumping into the present with 2018's A Quiet Place with that guy from The Office. Review us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you listen. Don't be scared. It's okay.
And if you have any interesting facts about Candyman, either the 1992 version or the upcoming remake sequel, let us know. Or if you have a suggestion for a movie that might scare us, let us know on Twitter at horriblepod, or you can email us at thehorribleidea@gmail.com.
And there were boobs in this movie. Thank you.
No edgelords, though.